short belief. Now, my objective was to start to believe that I could actually do what was on this card. And he said, remember, no more effort is required in order to aim high in life, to demand abundance and prosperity, than is required to seek misery and poverty. So I started to think about this, and I thought, it doesn't take any more energy. See, I really couldn't get into how I could make this happen. Now, he had said, when you write it on the card, read it as often as possible. And then one day I came across this. And this is so important. It really is important. He said, your subconscious mind recognizes and acts only upon thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. You see, the idea was that by repeating it over and over again, you're going to plant it in your subconscious mind, and that's when it starts to happen for you. Well, I was repeating it over and over again. He said, you can keep saying it day in, day out, and it isn't going to do you any good. He said, your subconscious mind recognizes and acts upon only thoughts which have been well mixed with emotion or feeling. Now, he said, listen to this. He said, this is a fact of such importance as to warrant repetition in practically every chapter, because the lack of understanding of this is the main reason the majority of people who try to apply these principles of autosuggestion get no desirable results. Wow. I hadn't been mixing it with emotion. I had just been saying it. By New Year's Day of 1970, I'm going to have in my possession. And you know, I started to mix it with emotion. I started to image myself, and I feel myself living this kind of life. I started to see it happening. Now, another part of the book, he said, start to act where you are. You don't have to know where it's coming from. Well, I was in a fire hall. We worked 6 days and 6 nights a month. We weren't even working that much. Because I knew I was never going to earn the $25,000 there. In fact, the chief was only earning $11,000 and change. And there was only one chief. But he said, start where you are and give it everything you've got.
You know you got me singing.
Most of the other firemen on my shift were not too happy with me, because I got busy doing things that I could see needed done around the fire hall when there was no fires. I would start cleaning the trucks. I'd start washing some walls. And the guys were going nuts. They were saying, Proctor, give it a rest. But I kept doing it, because that's what he was saying here. You see, I was wondering, where's the money going to come from? Now, I knew it wasn't going to come from the fire hall. But he said, give it the best you've got. Now, looking back, many, many years later, I could see what happened. I was training my mind to operate on a different frequency. And when my mind started to operate on a different frequency, everything in my world started to change. Like I said, 1 year later, I was earning $175,000 a year. And then I took it over $1 million. Today, my company does earn millions of dollars. Money is something I look at totally different than I used to. Now, let me just summarize what I've said here, because I'm going to make you another video that I want you to watch. You've got to sit down and you've got to decide what you want. You give absolutely no thought to where it's going to come from. Now, keep in mind, this author spent his entire life studying 500 of the world's most successful people. And he found a golden thread running through their life, and he put it in this book. I've been reading this book. Look, I've been reading this book since 1961. I carry it everywhere I go. He said, decide what you want. Write it on a card. You do not have to know how you're going to get it. You don't even have to believe you're going to get it when you write it on the card. But then, he said, there's a difference between wishing for it and being ready to receive it. No one's ready until they believe that they can acquire it. Now, by watching this video, by reading Think and Grow Rich, in fact, I'm hooking up a download for you to this particular video of the book I wrote, You Were Born Rich. If you haven't got it, you can download it and read it. And you start studying yourself, and you keep playing with the same idea, you start to believe that you can do it. Now, he said, remember, it doesn't take any more effort to aim high, to demand abundance and prosperity than is required to accept misery and poverty. See, I actually worked harder at earning $4,000 and owning $6,000 than I did at earning millions. I really did, and I worried that it was just not a good place to live. And so I started then doing what he said. I quit just repeating it, and I started to let myself get emotionally involved. I started to feel it. I studied actors, and I watched how actors work. I watched George C. Scott in the movie Patton, Lawrence of Arabia, and Omar Sharif in the movie Lawrence of Arabia. These were old movies, but I still watched them. And I watched, and I thought, they're living the part. That's what I've got to do. I've got to live the part. I've got to sink it right deep into my subconscious mind. And then he said, start to act where you are. Give everything you've got to what you're doing where you are. Now, even though I knew I wasn't going to earn any more money there, I started to really apply myself. And I was drawing a lot of flack from the people around me. But you know something? That strengthened me. Now, years later, looking back, I could see I was raising my own level of conscious awareness. Now, I'm going to make another video, and I'm going to tell you exactly how that money started to come to me. Because it come in a strange way. And it come in a way that I wouldn't have even imagined. But he said that in this book. You don't have to know where it's going to come from. You only have to know it's going to come. And I want to suggest that you really get involved in this information. Make up your mind right now that you are going to change your life. I've been working at changing mine now for going on 50 years. See, the beautiful part about this is it doesn't matter how good it gets, it can get better. Do you know there's no right way of doing anything? You can have a good way, it can be a valid way, but there's always a better way. Do what I've suggested. And then sign in what you have to do here for this next video I'm going to make. You decide what you want, you write it on a card. Then you start to repeat it to yourself. You keep studying this material, and the more you study, the more you believe in yourself, because the more you understand who you are. And then you add emotion to it. You actually see yourself with it. You don't have to know where it's going to come from. Now, this may all seem like crazy stuff and fantasy. But I'm going to tell you, it worked for me. It's helped me earn millions of dollars. I'm featured in a movie that's all over the world. In fact, it's in countries that I haven't even heard of. Sitting with Larry King, I was thinking, how did I get here? This is how I got there. With Ellen. She's a really neat lady. We had a great time there. Talking to her on the phone. And I'm like, girl next door. And she's just a nice person. Said to be fat in the nightlife. All these magazines and everything. I'm thinking, God, there's a future. I see, it's simple little things you do, but you do them every day. Decide what you want, write it on the card, mix it with emotion. Keep studying this material. You might understand yourself better. I'll sign in and do the next video because I'm going to tell you how I write. This is Bob Proctor.